What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Ticket with Tippett. I'm Gavin Tippett, and this is my 2025 running back rankings. Let's jump in. My running back one, Saquon Barkley. Saquon will continue to see great work. He had a crazy big workload last year with Philadelphia. The offensive line is top 3 in the NFL still. No changes there. No changes with the weapons. You still have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. And I don't see Jalen Hurts taking too many goal line opportunities from Saquon other than when they're on the 1 yard line. When they're inside the 5, it's pretty much a Saquon show. Saquon's going to see the workload that he saw last year. There's no way that the Eagles don't bounce off of that success and continue to grow with Saquon. Bijan Robinson is my RB2. Bijan has massive league-winning upside potential. The dude could go for 1,500 rushing yards and catch 600 receiving yards. More than likely, he's going to try and take a lot of the load off of Michael Penix. They're going to try and ease Penix into the offense. I know they did a little bit of that last year, weeks 16 through 18. And Bijan was a monster when Penix was in the lineup. There's no way you can look at what happened the last 3 weeks of the season with Bijan and not think that that's his outcome for the 2025 season. Jahmyr Gibbs is my RB3. Gibbs has so much talent. The only thing that worries me is that they lost offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. He is now the head coach of the Bears. I don't expect this offense to change too much. They still have all the same weapons. Gibbs should continue to see consistent RB1 numbers. David Montgomery, coming off an injury last season, probably won't have as much say in that backfield. It's probably going to be more like a 75-25 split now between Gibbs and Montgomery. I expect Montgomery to get a lot of the goal line work. However, Gibbs is just way too explosive to leave out of the lineup for a majority of the game like he used to. My running back 4, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry finished last season as the RB2. I have him at my RB4. I don't expect much less from him. He's still in the most run-heavy offense in the NFL with Lamar Jackson at quarterback. Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell just don't provide a solid backup where I would be worried about Derrick Henry losing any touches. I do expect Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell to come in for some of those passing downs, but I also don't expect the Ravens to be in a lot of third and long situations. You could see a big year from Derrick Henry again. That's why I have him at my RB4. Devon Achane is my running back 5. Achane has the most receiving upside of any running back that's in the top 10. Achane is going to see a ton of receiving work because of the cover 4 and cover 2 that a lot of teams play against Miami. They just try and bottle up Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle with cover 4 and cover 2. Jonnu Smith is gone, so that's the second leading target share on the team last year, and I don't see how Achane doesn't just take over that and just become an absolute monster in the receiving game. Expect a lot of dump-offs and screenplays to Achane. My running back 6 is Christian McCaffrey. McCaffrey obviously had injury problems last year, took away from a lot of his running back upside. If he stays fully healthy, the dude seriously has league-winning upside. We've seen it year to year. Now Jordan Mason is gone. He doesn't have 2 running backs to compete with. It's just Isaac Guerrero in the backfield, and he's going through training camp with a shoulder injury. There's no real competition for Christian McCaffrey right now. If he can stay healthy, he is the running back 1 in a good San Francisco 49ers offense. My RB7, Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty currently in sleeper rankings is RB5. I just don't have him that high. He's going to be close. He's going to see a lot of workload in the Las Vegas Raiders offense that doesn't have much other than Brock Bowers. I'm expecting a very low floor, not so much a high ceiling with this offense. I don't see this offense scoring a lot, so I don't see Jeanty getting those, double-digit touchdown numbers. He'll probably get around the 9-10 range. I don't see him getting more than 12. I think that's his peak. If he gets any more than that, he's going to finish in the top 5 of running backs, but I just don't see that for the 2025 season with him just getting to the NFL, getting adjusted, and having a decent offensive line. This isn't a Jahmyr Gibbs situation where he comes in with a top 3 offensive line right away. He's going to have to work really hard to get those touchdowns. My RB8 is Josh Jacobs. Jacobs saw probably the most work he's seen in his career since his rookie season in Las Vegas. Jacobs finished as an RB5 last year, but that was with Emmanuel Wilson and Marshawn Lloyd missing some time as key backup running backs. Marshawn Lloyd is missing a little bit of training camp. Look for Lloyd to maybe take a little bit more of the rushing opportunities than he did last season. If that happens, Jacobs falls a little bit, but I still see him with the biggest workload in that Green Bay offense. There's just not any true talent. Maybe Matthew Golden and Savion Williams come in and change that. But as of now, Jacobs has the outlook to be a top 10 running back again. My RB9 is Bucky Irving. Last year, Liam Cohen ran a really solid 2-man running game with Bucky Irving and Rachaad White. The team never really knew who was coming out in what formation and how they were going to be used. Kind of led to Bucky Irving being able to dominate the goal line, dominate the pass game, which I see that flip-flopping this year, but I also see Bucky Irving getting a lot of the run work versus Rachaad White. If Bucky Irving can replicate what he did last year with a good offensive line, they are going to miss Tristan Wirfs this year for the first couple games. I don't think that's going to be huge. I know Tristan Wirfs is a great player, but as far as Bucky Irving goes, he's talented enough to overcome that. My RB12 is Chase Brown. Chase Brown became the steal of the draft last year, finishing at RB12. There weren't too many people that saw Chase Brown as the clear RB1 in that Cincinnati offense, but once Zach Moss got injured, Chase Brown just took over. There's no way that Samaje Perine's going to come in and take a workload off of Chase Brown. Perine will probably see a lot of third down and long passing game, and he will probably be a pass blocker for Cincinnati's offense. Chase Brown is the clear one. There's no way anybody's taking competition from him. Jonathan Taylor is my running back 11. Jonathan Taylor has the potential to be a top 5 running back. However, his offense isn't going to let him be a top 10 running back. Last season, he finished as RB8. I don't have him too far off of that. I think they're going to pass the ball a lot more with Anthony Richardson, try and get him more familiar with NFL defenses, take a chance on him, and really see whether he is the quarterback of the future or not for the Indianapolis Colts. While Jonathan Taylor could help him grow and gain play action, I just don't see how Jonathan Taylor finishes as a top 10 running back. They're probably not going to get into the red zone too much. His touchdown upside is very, very low. Jonathan Taylor could be one of those guys that goes for 1,300 yards and just barely scores, kind of like an Ashton Genty. Kyren Williams is my RB12. Sean McVay absolutely loves Kyren Williams. He just got a new contract and is now the 7th highest paid running back in the NFL. I do think Davante Adams coming in takes away some of that red zone touchdown ability from Kyren Williams. I think they get a little bit more pass heavy in the red zone than they have in previous years, kind of to take the workload off of Kyren Williams. Kyren's been a top 5 RB in the red zone between touches, efficiency. I just don't see how his body can keep up with that workload in the red zone. Blake Corum didn't see any work really last year at all. Kyren is the clear RB1. That red zone touchdown drop could see him fall outside of the RB10. My RB13 is James Cook. If you drafted James Cook last year in fantasy, you felt phenomenal about picking him in the 4th or 5th round. James Cook finished with 18 touchdowns after the previous 2 seasons, barely scoring at all. The Bills' offense is going to be the same high-power offense again. This time I just see Josh Allen probably taking a lot more away from James Cook, whether it's to the passing game or rushing it in himself. Plus, guys like Ray Davis and Ty Johnson seeing majority of the passing down work in training camp doesn't make me feel good about James Cook's receiving upside. James Cook is going to see a lot of rushing game early on. There's no way that he scores as many touchdowns as he did last season. I just don't see the potential growth. I see a little bit of reduction between the running backs in the room and Josh Allen just being Josh Allen. My RB14 is Omarion Hampton. The rookie from North Carolina is absolutely killing it in training camp. Every report is showing that he is going to be the RB1, especially with Najee Harris missing a lot of time with his eye injury from the July 4th fireworks. Harris is in a new offense and he's out with injury right now in training camp, which never bodes well for running backs, wide receivers who are trying to gain traction with their new coaches, new quarterback, new system. Hampton, however, has been in training camp full time with no injury hiccups, and he looks like the clear RB1. Once Najee does get back, he's probably going to play that third down back role, but I do see Omarion Hampton with a lot more explosive playability than Najee Harris does as well, so you could see a lot of Omarion Hampton this year with the Los Angeles Chargers. We all know Jim Harbaugh loves to use his run game, and I don't expect anything to be different with Omarion Hampton this year. Breece Hall drops to my RB15. Breece Hall right now in Sleeper is being taken as RB13. I don't see him with that much potential. Braylon Allen's probably going to see a lot of goal line work if they do get down there, and Justin Fields' rushing ability is also going to take away from his rushing touchdown upside. Everybody's looking for the potential that Breece Hall had in his rookie season. I just don't see that coming back. That injury really did harm on him, and this New York Jets offense is really bad. The Jets offense is so bad that he will not be in the top 10 running backs. He falls to my RB15. Just the Braylon Allen situation, Justin Fields being there. Nothing looks good for Breece Hall in New York. My RB16 is Kenneth Walker. If last year showed anything, it's that Zach Charbonnet is better than everybody thought he was. While Kenneth Walker is good and has good rushing yards per attempt, Zach Charbonnet is a little bit better in almost everything that they do. I see a lot more split backfield work than I do Charbonnet just being the third down back. I think Charbonnet could be a steal in the later half of the draft. If you're going after him in fantasy and you want to link up Kenneth Walker with Zach Charbonnet and kind of tag along with him, I think that's the right move. Kenneth Walker has great upside. He's still very young, but he is injury prone. So Charbonnet could see a lot of the work when Kenneth Walker is gone, and I don't see anybody else really stepping up in the backfield from there. With new quarterback Sam Darnold coming in, I do expect them to run the ball a little bit, ease up on Sam Darnold learning the new offense. Kenneth Walker should see a lot of work, but like I said, Charbonnet's explosiveness just might take away from Kenneth Walker's workload and total ability to produce numbers in the fantasy game. Alvin Kamara is my running back 17. Kamara finished right around this number last season, and with the offense not really changing too much, not getting any better, not getting any worse, I think Kamara stays in the same range. I have him at my RB17 because of the pass game alone. I don't see anybody in the backfield taking any work from Kamara. I still think he is the dominant RB1 in that Saints offense. His job is going to be to protect and receive for these quarterbacks. He's going to be a good dump off and screen option like he's always been in his career. I think that role kind of expands itself with Tyler Shaw and Spencer Rattler at quarterback. Expect a lot of screenplay, a lot of dump offs. Alvin Kamara to kind of have a big receiving year, not so much in the rushing game. James Conner is my RB18. James Conner seems like an absolute unit when Kyler Murray is in at quarterback. Expect big things from James Conner on the ground. If the Cardinals offense does produce and get into the red zone a lot, I think James Conner has top 10 running back potential. He did finish as RB10 last year. Everybody seems to always kind of doubt him and grade him a little bit lower than what he should be. And I'm kind of doing that this year too. I don't think the Cardinals offense is as good as it's going to be. I think Trey McBride is a great player. I think James Conner is solid. Their offensive line has kind of come together, but I just don't see where the Cardinals offense puts up enough yardage and touchdowns to produce a top 10 running back again out of James Conner. Chuba Hubbard is my RB19. Chuba did miss time last year and finished as RB13, but I think he has a more formidable running back counterpart to Rico Dowdle. Miles Sanders was his running back backup last year. I think Dowdle provides a little bit more than what Miles Sanders provided last year. There have been no reports in training camp that he's going to miss any time or that he's been limited in any kind of work. He's the clear RB1 in that offense. Dowdle will take away some of that offensive prowess that Chuba Hubbard had. He is a little bit of a bigger back, so expect Dowdle to probably be on the goal line when they're in the goal line formation, taking away from Chuba Hubbard's upside and touchdowns. Plus, the addition of Tet McMillan gives the offense a little bit more passing game to work with. They have Tet McMillan, Xavier Legette, and Adam Thielen now, which is a formidable wide receiver room that they can kind of go with in 2025. Expect for a little bit of regression in Chuba Hubbard's game. They did sign him to that contract extension last year, but I just don't see where his rushing upside is better than it was last year. My RB20 is Isaiah Pacheco. This Chiefs offense didn't really see much downside to when Pacheco left versus when he was in the lineup, which is why I have him ranked in my RB20. Kareem Hunt is still there. Carson Steele is still there. They will probably play as the goal line backs, and Kareem Hunt will probably receive third down back roles. In training camp, it's been reported that Kareem Hunt has been the main third down back, which leaves questions for Pacheco and his passing game upside. There's no way that he sees receiving game. He is just a rusher only. He runs the ball hard. He's their ground and pound guy. His touchdown upside is probably the only thing that will carry him to a top 15 finish, but I have him at RB20 because I just don't see that touchdown upside with Kareem Hunt and Carson Steele being back there who are bigger bodies. Travion Henderson is my RB21. Travion is definitely my favorite rookie running back outside of Ashton Genty, obviously. What they have going on in New England is something special. They beefed up their offensive line. They added Stephon Diggs. They added Kyle Williams. Drake May should see a big tick up in his quarterback production, leading to more touchdown opportunities for the running backs. With Ramondre Stevenson and Antonio Gibson being fumble machines, Travion Henderson has a great opportunity to take that RB1 role from Ramondre Stevenson. While I don't see the Patriots fully giving up Stevenson as their RB1 at the beginning of the season, I just see Travion Henderson taking it over during the season. That is part of the reason why I have him a little bit lower. I don't see him being the RB1 right away. I see him splitting a lot of the work with Ramondre Stevenson. But I do see a lot of upside in Travion Henderson, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a top 15 finish from him just with how good the Patriots offense looks to be in 2025. David Montgomery is my RB22. I see David Montgomery taking a huge step back as far as workload goes in this Lions offense. I still believe they're a two-headed monster at running back, which is why I still have David Montgomery finishing right around that RB20. He finishes RB17, even though last year he missed some time due to an injury. I just don't see how Gibbs' explosiveness doesn't call for Gibbs seeing majority of the touches. I expect this running back split to go more 75-25 than it was 50-50 last year. Gibbs has too much explosiveness compared to Montgomery. Montgomery will be the clear third and short goal line back, but Gibbs, his athleticism and ability just leads to more touches and more touchdowns than David Montgomery will have in 2025. Aaron Jones is my RB23. Aaron Jones finished as RB16 last year. I see him taking a bit of a regression. He definitely has a more formidable running back too in Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason saw 1,500 yards from scrimmage this past season, and I don't expect that to slow down. I honestly expect for Mason to see more of the work as the season progresses, and Mason honestly scares the hell out of me. That dude's an athletic freak, and he's built like a Mack truck. So I don't expect Aaron Jones to take majority of the workload for majority of the season. I think Jones is starting out as a clear RB1, and Mason will see a lot of the third down passing plays. But I think as the season progresses, you're going to see Jordan Mason continue to work himself into a better split of running back touches with Aaron Jones, which is why I have Aaron Jones taking that step back in 2025. My running back 24, Joe Mixon. Mixon finished as an RB11 last year, just outside of the top 10. But this injury that's been going on through training camp and kind of nagging at him is really worrisome, especially when the Texans added Nick Chubb and Woody Marks this offseason, on top of having Dameon Pierce in the backfield. If Mixon can get rid of this leg injury that he's had all throughout training camp, I think he's the clear RB1, and I think Nick Chubb takes the RB2 spot right behind him. But the signing of Nick Chubb and a bad offensive line just doesn't lead me to think he'll even be in the top 20 running backs. His age is a real concern with the injuries that he's already had in his career. I think this is the time to be looking at Joe Mixon and saying, is this the guy that we think he could be? Or is this the year that he actually collapses out of the fantasy realm? My RB25 is RJ Harvey. When Denver took Harvey in the 2025 NFL Draft, I absolutely loved it. Harvey has so much receiving upside and big play possibility that he should lead as the RB1 in Denver. While J.K. Dobbins, coming off of a really nice season in the LA Chargers system, is coming over to Denver to beef up that running back room, I don't see how RJ Harvey doesn't have a big fantasy season. He has so much potential there in Denver to play next to Bo Nix in the red zone and third down back roles that his receiving upside is just going to take over whatever J.K. Dobbins does on the ground. He's 24 years old, probably the oldest running back coming out of the NFL draft this season, and I just don't see how he's not NFL ready with Sean Payton as his coordinator and head coach. Caleb Johnson is my RB26. Another rookie, this time going to Pittsburgh. Caleb Johnson shows the body frame and the build of a solid RB1. He will be the first and second down backs in that Pittsburgh offense. An offense that already loves to run the ball so much and be powerful on the ground and in the trenches. Caleb Johnson will see RB1 work. Jaylen Warren is going to continue to be that RB2 in that offense and work the third down and short goal line opportunities. The opportunities that Jaylen Warren will see does make me believe that Caleb Johnson will work into an RB1 role instead of being the RB1 right away. Although training camp reports show that Caleb Johnson is getting majority of the RB1 work, he could be working into that role during the season as well, which is why I have him this far back. DeAndre Swift is my RB27. Swift will see a big offensive change with Ben Johnson coming over as the new head coach. It'll probably take the Bears offense a year or so to get tuned to Ben Johnson's ways. They definitely saw a lot of it last year when they played Detroit. I think Caleb Williams has a lot of growing pains and a learning curve that he needs to adjust to the Ben Johnson system. I don't think that the Bears are going to right away fire off 30 points a game. I just think that's not reasonable to believe that they can do that. They definitely don't have the offensive weapons that they do in Detroit, and I think DeAndre Swift will see a lot of the Jahmyr Gibbs style play, while Roschon Johnson will see a lot of the David Montgomery play. Roschon Johnson is an RB2 that could take away some running opportunities, especially near the goal line and on short third down plays. I think DeAndre Swift, like I said, plays that Jahmyr Gibbs role where he's kind of that explosive back that just comes in and just has those explosive plays, but I don't think it's going to be enough to meet a top 20 running back finish. Brian Robinson Jr. is my RB28. Robinson's playing in one of the best offenses in the NFL, so he should see a lot of touchdown upside. Last year he finished as RB31, and that was with Eckler missing time. So if Robinson does finish with that touchdown potential, you could see him as a really good flex play in your league. I do see Brian Robinson being the clear RB1 on this team, as Austin Eckler has been reported to be taking kicking return and punt return reps in training camp. So it does worry me about Austin Eckler's upside and what they see in him. Maybe one of these rookie running backs coming out of the draft will step up closer to that RB2 role with the passing game if Eckler were to ever get injured, and that only just feeds Brian Robinson's role as RB1 more. Tony Pollard is my RB29. I think Pollard cleared himself as the RB1 in this offense. Tajay Spears is not what we thought he was going to be coming out of college, and I just believe Tony Pollard is going to be able to help Cam Ward progress in the NFL. I think that Pollard takes over more of that backfield work. I think he helps Cam Ward a lot, like I was saying earlier, in the offense. There's not many options outside of Tony Pollard. There's just Calvin Ridley, and that's pretty much it in that offense. Tennessee's offense isn't going to be that good with rookie quarterback in play, which is why I don't see a huge season from Tony Pollard again. I think he finishes right around that RB30 range, which is why I have him at RB29. Quinshon Judkins is my RB30. The suspension for Quinshon Judkins has dropped him down to my RB30. He's being taken as the RB26 right now, but that suspension looming just scares the hell out of me. I don't think I could formally take Quinshon Judkins at this moment until we have a clear definition of what the suspension is going to look like. When Judkins is on the field, he will be the clear RB1 for Cleveland, but he hasn't even signed his contract yet with Cleveland with the suspension in place. If this is the case, look for a lot of Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson has been getting great reports out of training camp. He's a rookie for Cleveland this year, and he just looks like a good, solid RB1 option if Quinshon Judkins is not going to be on the field. Jerome Ford will still see some of that work, but I see Dylan Sampson taking a lot of that receiving game, a lot of the work for Cleveland Browns this season. My RB31 is Tyrone Tracy Jr. Tracy is just a fumbling machine. There's no way he finishes inside the top 20, especially with them adding Cam Scatterville and still having Devin Singletary back there in the offense. New York Giants did add Russell Wilson, which will help the offense get down the field a little bit more, which is why I see a little bit more rushing upside in Tyrone Tracy. I don't see the touchdown production. I don't see the passing game being in his favor. I think Singletary or Scatterbo kind of takes that over. If Tracy can limit the fumbles, he can jump into the top 25 running backs, but his upside just isn't that high in this New York Giants offense, and he doesn't have the ability that some of the other running backs do to produce explosive plays and score touchdowns. And last but not least, my RB32 is Travis Etienne Jr. I have been finishing right at his sleeper projection of RB32 just because I see a lot of Tank Bigsby this year. Liam Cohen coming from that Tampa Bay offense running that dual running back threat, I can see that happening in Jacksonville this season. I think Travis Etienne plays a lot more of the passing and receiving game, kind of like Bucky Irving did last year, and I see a lot of Tank Bigsby running that Rachaad White role where it's a lot of goal line looks. There's a lot of reports coming from training camp saying that Tank Bigsby is producing RB1 style play versus Travis Etienne. So be on the lookout for those reports to come out more, and we may change this ranking in the near future. There it is, everybody. My 2025 running back rankings for the fantasy football season. If you have any changes, please drop a like, drop a comment. Let me know what changes you would make. Who do you have higher? Who do you have lower? Don't forget to subscribe and share. It helps the channel grow, and we appreciate everything you do in your attempts to help this channel build itself. And we look forward to seeing you next time here at Ticket with Tippett. Peace, dope, and love. See you later.